Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In the last episode on History in Motion, we have discussed on Africa's scorching Rift Valley. Lucy took her first bipedal step 3 million years ago. Old Darwin choppers sliced survival. Auckland acts sparked geniuses. And Homo sapiens rose with fire, art and microliths, shattering myths of primitive brutes. This Stone Age force birthed our brain born and bold migration. Humanity's cradle, which was Africa. History in Motion brings the plastic roar of life. I have already discussed this in my previous chapters. If you have missed it, don't forget to watch it. I have put the link in the description box. Please check it out. And now, let's continue our today's topic. Imagine this. You're standing at a frozen wasteland stretches endlessly beneath a sky bruised purple by storm cloud that never quite clear. Not silence, but wind. Constant biting wind that cuts through skins and bones. And the snow does not drift down softly here. It lashes sideways, piling into drift taller than a grown human. And somewhere in the distance, against the dense fog, you see mammoth trumpet incoming. The deep rumbling calls roar across the ice like thunder. Massive trucks slice through packed snow as they move forward, just like an ancient engine of muscles and fur shaking the ground with every steps. And as you move ahead on those wide spread open land, you saw large mountains and hills covered in snow. And within those mountains there are caves. When you move closer to those caves, you realize it's a limestone cave. And inside that a faint orange glow flickers, which is firelight. It dances against stone walls polished smoothly by countless winter. Shadow stretches and collapse. It looks like almost alive. An inside figure huddles together. They are stocky, with broad shoulder and powerful build. They have heavy brows which cast deep shadow over their alerted watchful eyes. One crouches by the fire, striking stone against stone. Not randomly, but with precision. A flake snaps fire. Another tightening snoo around a spare shift. Someone feeds the fire. Someone murmurs softly, almost like a prayer. These are not monsters. They are not half animal. They are not a failed version of us. They are Neanderthals, the first true Europeans, surviving on the Ice Age apocalypse in caves that still echo with their lives. This is Stone Age Europe, and this is their world. To understand Neanderthals, you must erase Europe you know, with no border, no cities, and no gentle season. Instead, picture Europe locked in a deep freeze during the Pleistocene epoch between roughly 300,000 to 40,000 years ago, with the ice sheet crept southward like slow-moving giants. Some ice sheet was nearly 2 miles thick, flattering forests, redirecting rivers, and erasing entire ecosystem. Scandinavia disappeared beneath ice. The Alps become frozen wall. Survival meant retreating to coastland, river valley, and narrow strips of land where food still existed. As water frozen into glacier, sea level dropped by more than 400 feet. And when the ocean pulled back, something extraordinary emerged. A vast plain now lost beneath the North Sea, which once connected Britain to mainland Europe. This land, which is known today as Doggerland, was alive with moments, and reindeer migrated in massive herds, while woolly dinosaurs gazed, and hunters followed traces across ground that now lies beneath, drowned and forgotten. This harsh, shifting world was not empty. It once belongs to Neanderthals. They evolved in Eurasia from early human ancestors around 400,000 years ago, and everything about their bodies tells the story of cold adaptation. Their short limbs conserved heat, and their barrel-shaped chest housed powerful lungs. Wide nose, warming freezing air before it reaches the throat. Their brain averaged 1,500 cubic centimeters, often larger than our today. Not for poetry or art alone, but for memory, planning, tool making, and survival in one of the most unforgettable environments human ever faced. And this wasn't a brief experiment. Neanderthals endures Ice Age Zero for hundreds of thousands of years. And now, let's enter into their world slowly, deliberately, moving cave by cave, generation by generation, unearthing not just bones, but life shaped by ice, fire, and time. Our journey began at the place that gave Neanderthals their name, the Neander Valley in Germany. In 1856, quarry workers are blasting limestone when strange bones piled from the rock. Thick limb, a heavy skull, brows like overhanging cliff. At first scholars scoff. Surely this is just a diseased modern human. A hunchback miner, maybe a soldier vaping by illness. But the bones refused to fit the story. Scientific study revealed the truth. This individual lived around 40,000 years ago. He was elderly by Ice Age standard. His skeleton bears the mark of a harsh life. Injuries survived, not avoided. Most telling of all, his body has been placed deliberately in a shallow grave, dusted with red ore. This was no accident. This was Neanderthal's one, and he was not abandoned. Once our scientists knew what to look for, the pattern appears everywhere. Across Europe, Neanderthals were burying their dead. At Goram Cave, overlooking the Mediterranean, graves suggest careful placement. At Kikoba, bodies were laid with stone tools, red earth, animal bones, and sometimes flour accompanied them. Just pause for a minute and imagine that moment. A group halts its daily struggle for food. Frozen ground must be chipped open with stone. A body is lowered, not tossed, not forgotten, but positioned, covered, and remembered. That is not brute survival. That is meaning. Now fast forward to Ice Age France. The famous cave of Lascaux and Chavert Cave are often linked with Cro-Magnon art. But Neanderthals were here long before paint touches those walls. Deep in the Doggerland region lies Le Monster. In the early 1900s, archaeologists uncovered something quite devastating: the grave of a Neanderthal teenager, which was dating to 55,000 years ago. He was laid beneath a rock shelter, shielded from wind. Goat bones rested nearby. Flint tools lay within reach. This wasn't disposal, this was farewell. And when Neanderthals weren't burying their dead, they were hunting to keep them alive. Picture them moving across frozen tundra, wrapped in stitched animal hides. Breath fogs the air. Reindeer hide stretches across the horizon. Using the laborious technique, Neanderthals prepared stone core in advance, striking flakes off with surgical precision to create a spear point that could pierce thick hide and muscles. And this required foresight, visualizing the tool before it existed. At Grotte de Renu, evidence add another layer. Here Neanderthals pierced bone bead and carved horse teeth into ornaments, object with no survival function at all. These date to nearly 40,000 years before Homo sapiens arrived to the region. Ask yourself, why to decorate? For identity, for belonging, and for belief. Crossed to Rhine in Belgium to Spy Cave in 1886. Archaeologists uncovered two nearby complete Neanderthal skeletons buried within what had once been a hyena's den. They were almost 36,000 years old. These bodies told a powerful story, not through art, but through chemistry. Isotopic analysis of their teeth revealed diet rich in mammoth meat, seal hunted along Doggerland's coast, and cooked plant gathered near huts. Neanderthals were not desperate scavengers. They were omnivorous strategists. They even boiled root using rich bark containers sealed with pitch, a glue they manufactured by heating tree resin without oxygen. This wasn't guesswork, it was controlled chemistry, knowledge passed on through generations. Now let's step east, beyond Europe. But the lesson circles back home. In Schneider Cave, archaeologist Raj Solanki uncovered one of the most human stories ever told in bones, which is about Schneider 1. He was a Neanderthal man with missing an arm, with crushed toe and partial blindness. Injuries like this should have been fatal, yet he lived for around 40 years old, ancient by Ice Age standard. He survived because others helped him. They fed him, they protected him, and they waited for him. Pollen found in the grave suggests flowers. To debated, but the care itself is unquestionable. And Europe echoes their stories. At Krapina, more than 800 Neanderthals bone dated from 130,000 to 40,000 years ago shows healed fractured, splintered limbs, and recovered trauma. Cut marks once labeled cannibalism are now understood as ritual defleshing, ceremonial treatment of the dead, not desperation. Nearby Vindija cave held a jawbone carrying genetic evidence of interbreeding with incoming modern humans. Neanderthals were not isolated. They were connected to each other and eventually to us. Few sites captured Ice Age life more vividly than El Cedron Cave. In 2008, flood preserved the remains of 13 Neanderthals frozen in the time of 49,000 years old. DNA sequencing revealed a small isolated clan. Close relatives. Sign of interbreeding. Hint of green eyes and possibly red hair. But what truly stands out is their ingenuity. Eye needle for sewing fur boats. Heart littered with charged hazelnuts. Tool designed for Arctic wind that could kill within hours. These people weren't barely surviving, they were adapting. Symbolism ties everything together. Eagle talons, jewelry from Krapina suggests status or spiritual meaning. Red orc painting in Spain Aragon region dated back 65,000 years long before sapiens painted caves. At Vanguard Cave, huts with 60,000 years old limpet show seafood feast during brief warm spells, when pine forests crept back across the land. And then the twilight. Around 42,000 years ago, Earth's magnetic field weakened during the last geometric excursion. allowing increased radiation and triggering sudden coolness. Ecosystem collapsed again, and at the same time Homo sapiens entered Europe from Africa via the Levant. At Pestera Oasis, skull shows blended traits, proof of interbreeding. Neanderthals did not vanish overnight. They overlapped with sapiens for thousands of years. They traded, they fought, they loved. Today, 2% of non-African human DNA came from them. The final chapter remained debatable. Gibraltar, remote Russian cave, or perhaps somewhere we haven't yet uncovered. Site like Bunuk Cave with 176,000-year-old stalagmite ring remind us that Neanderthals' intelligence still holds secrets. Their story does not end in extinction, but it ends in mystery. That's it for today. Next week we will continue our session where we will discuss on the myths and facts, impact on human evolution, and what does Stone Age Europe tells us. So stay curious. Until then, keep questioning history.